Hi everyone. One thing I will admit, from my many videos about Mr. Beast and Dogpack is that I mainly hate, most of my attention I spend was more on Dogpack, and I really hate them. Mainly because, the reason that if he's the one person exposed to Mr. Beast, he's doing a really shitty job in general. With his 3 videos, I will admit the first 2, not that bad. They're bad, but by comparison to part 3, the worst part by far, then those 2, not that bad. I will, give him respect where respect's due, about putting light on, the whole Delaware magic part and the illegal lottery system that was going on apparently in the company as well. Those 2 things, he did put it out in the public light, and that's good. But it was so popular, some really bad videos about saying really dumb shit did you know that Mr. Beast fakes videos because he has a CGI train crash into a hole? How dare he? That part is as bad as, having a Russian sex offender in your company. Shame on you, Jimmy. It's so dumb. But I will admit, ever since, he had this whole expedition, this whole campaign of tearing him down, one thing he did clearly show was that in the company, it seems to be very unprofessional at having the worst people in there or some very bad people in general and keeping them there. For one, like I mentioned, Delaware. That's one person that it's not LaCoya Hale or James Warren where Dogpack struggled to put evidence on the bad people they have crimes or they did crimes. But with Delaware, he showed us as clear as daylight, he was actually a registered sex offender. There was no debating that. But still, even after making 3 videos, even though he hasn't yet, I feel like Jimmy, the first thing he has to respond is to that part. Because having the company, Delaware, that looks really bad. And to clear that up, he's gonna have to have a really big reason why he's still working in the company, or that how that crime that they committed many years back was a misunderstanding, how Jake the Viking said. Even though Jake the Viking made the excuse that he didn't want to go to court and he made a plea deal, and that's why he's still registered, even though it doesn't make any sense. But Jimmy, on his behalf, he's gonna have to do a lot of work to clear that up and make him seem like the company hired him for good reason. With James Warren and LaCoya Hill, I'm gonna be honest, even so far, there's not really that much evidence to see them to be as bad as as Delaware, and I don't even believe myself that they're they're the shittiest person as Dogpack's making them seem. With James Warren being his girlfriend, LaCoya Hill, raping fucking male assistants, that kind of stuff. But if he can prove it, or if Dogpack can make a part 4, oh boy, part 4, I can't wait, and he can show that there's more bad people working in the company, that would be the one thing, to gain back his credibility and to prove his claim of what he said back a long ass time ago when this whole drama started of very bad people working in the company, like he said. He proved that with Delaware, not as much as James Warren and LaCoya Hill, but despite how much I hate him, he at least did that first part with Delaware, so that's bare minimum at least. But one of the things that I thought about, since that video what I last did a longest time ago, about a week back at least, my last video on Dogpack, one thing I did consider from seeing this whole story and seeing more parts is that I really do believe in general the company of Mr. Beast, they do hire some bad people and that they're also quite unprofessional. With one, it was like I said, Delaware, I keep bringing him up, but the fact there wasn't even a response so far, as of now, that on why he's still part of the company, that looks pretty bad. And second of all, there's another story I want to talk about today that looks really bad on the company and the whole game show that Mr. Beast is making called Beast Games, if you haven't seen of it. The whole game show will let you a bunch of other people jumping on the bandwagon of just hating Jimmy, hating the whole company. For example, I really hate that video, but it was that video of that lady, saying the very horrible stuff, the working at the conditions there were awful. They were tortured mentally and physically, very bad stuff. I'm gonna be honest, that video, I don't like it so much because it really seems that lady is blaming all the stuff in her life on the game show. Where if you take a second to think about it, if you was depressed, beforehand, of course, going on a game show like that might be, quite extreme, slightly, might make her mental condition a little bit worse. But then again, I don't think the game show was what led to her entire mental downfall, unless they were doing group 115 experiments on her. But one part I would backtrack on before my other videos was that it did seem, now that I think about it, that one part she mentioned, like her having medication like withdrawn from her, from the employees, that part did seem bad. And I said it because in the recent story of a crew member part of the game show, they had a very insane story where apparently someone there on the game show, on the set, they had a 6x6 foot tall tower, like a set design, maybe a prop, but it didn't seem like a prop because that tower was heavy enough that when it fell on a crew member there, it injured them so bad that the crew had to call emergency services to take them to a hospital. Well, even right now, as of the video and as of that tweet, that person is still in hospital right now. And that story, it is insane. Number one, it happened September 11th. Tower, September 11th? Coincidence? But as well, if that story is true, then it does back up the stories about other people, about contestants, saying that the conditions there are very, very unsafe. If even a crew member is even getting hurt on it. My own fear on what happened is like what I said before about like very, very unprofessional people working on the show. Or maybe like some idiot, you know, was like setting up the tower, didn't like fully, you know, secure it or put like a sandbag on it. So when someone like tipped it over or was unbalanced, it fell on another person, hurting them pretty badly. I will say now, one article that's important to bring up is like the Rolling Stones article, where a bunch of these stories from contestants, like ex-contestants, bring up like these conditions about being very unsafe. And one part that stuck out to me is where they said that a game show on this scale has never been done before, for good reason, being that it's unsafe and like too big to a point that some people might get hurt. And this game show, it hasn't come out yet, so I don't know like what crazy challenges could like lead to this, to having a 6x6 foot tall tower falling on someone. But you know, the whole idea of Mr. Beast like doing crazy challenges, I can see, you know, like how that idea carrying on from YouTube doesn't work as best, because when you have contestants, when you have 100 people, like, you know, they brought up like going on the show, it does make like a much bigger chance of someone getting hurt and leading to like very bad conditions for everyone. And also as well, if you think about it, I don't think someone going from like YouTube where the challenges they did had like, you know, maybe like 5 or 10 people, but even then they were like close friends doing the challenges. I don't think that translates as good to have like a game show with a huge crew and having like hundreds of people participating on it. So that is another factor to take in consideration of what accidents would happen on a game show like this one. And I should mention as well, when you already have people like contestants, like crew members, come in and like tell stories like what bad stuff happened already, that's very clear a bad sign that the whole crew and, you know, Mr. Beast in general, as a company I mean, they're very unprofessional and handling stuff like this and not having the right people to work on it. So all in all, I think later down the line, most stuff that will come out, you know, about Mr. Beast and the company, either from Dogpack or from other people inside the company, it does, you know, it will back up the theory that, or the proof that, you know, the whole company, they don't hire good people or they have actual monsters like Dogpack said, and that aside that from as well, they're very unprofessional people working in there. So let's see me address that in response video, like, you know, how he's gonna manage Delaware, like if he's gonna fire him or clear up the air on what he did, and how's gonna make sure that all the crew members are properly trained for the game show. I think that's probably the big spot that you address, because otherwise it makes the whole company look really, really bad overall.